This is the fifth quarter show Seasons, and my name's Rick Samprin. Happy to have you back here on this channel to hear about another incredible year in the history of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. This week, we have a lot to cover, so I want to get right to it. This is episode 23 of Seasons, and I'm looking back at one of the most legendary years ever. Today, join me as we party like it's 1999. The Eaton's department store chain files for bankruptcy. Wayne Gretzky retires from the National Hockey League. And virtually everyone is talking about Y2K. We last left off by learning that the Ticats were saved by an incredible season ticket and corporate sponsorship drive. And the community-owned consortium handed off the ownership of the team to Toronto businessmen George Grant and David McDonald on April 13th, 1995. The 95 season was full of change. The Sacramento Gold Miners moved to San Antonio and became the Texans. The Baltimore CFLers became known as the Stallions. The CFL granted expansion franchises to the Memphis Mad Dogs and Birmingham Barracudas, while the Las Vegas Posse tried to move to Jackson, Mississippi, but the club folded instead. The league also realigned its divisions, putting all 8 Canadian teams in the North Division and keeping the 5 American clubs in the South. And some teams sported new uniforms and color schemes, including large logos on the front of their jerseys. Even the ball changed from the Spalding J5V to a new ball from Wilson. Now, the Ticats, with the likes of Earl Winfield, Mike O'Shea, and rookie Rob Hitchcock, went 8-10 and finished in 4th in the North and lost to league-leading Calgary in round 1 of the playoffs. The Stamps went all the way to the Grey Cup, the first ever to be played in Regina, where Baltimore became the first and only American team to win the Grey Cup. By 1996, the CFL's U.S. experiment was over. Shreveport, Memphis, Birmingham, and San Antonio folded, and Baltimore moved to Montreal to become the third iteration of the Alouettes. The 96 Grey Cup was awarded to Hamilton, but the Cats went 8-10 again and lost to the Owls in the East semifinal. Doug Flutie and the Argonauts beat Edmonton 43-37 in a snow-filled championship game at Iverwin Stadium, the last championship to ever be played there. The Ottawa Roughriders folded after the 96 season, and Winnipeg was moved back to the East in 1997, the same year the crossover playoff spot was brought in. That year was frankly a disaster for the Ticats, who struggled to a franchise worst 2-16 record. 1998 ushered in a new era for the Ticats and the CFL. The league inked a new television deal with TSN, while Hamilton hired head coach Ron Lancaster away from Edmonton. And he brought along free agent star quarterback Danny McManus and talented receiver Darren Flutie. The turnaround was astounding as the Ticats rocketed from their worst record ever to their best at 12-5-1. Lancaster was named Coach of the Year, Mike Morreale was the most outstanding Canadian, and Joe Montford was voted the best player on defense. But the 98 season ended in heartbreaking fashion when Calgary edged Hamilton 26-24 on a last-second field goal in the Grey Cup final. On day 1 of training camp in 1999 at Brock University, with the players and coaches still stinging from their loss in the title game months earlier, Lancaster did something that galvanized the team right from the get-go. He brought everyone into a room, turned off the lights, and played a tape on the VHS player of the 98 Grey Cup and Calgary's celebration. When the video ended, he flicked the lights back on and said, "That's us this year." Everyone, McManus, Flutie, Montford, Calvin Tiggle, Hitch Morreale, Archie Amerson, Ronald Williams, Andrew Grigg, rookie Corey Grant, Mike Philbrick, Dave Hack, Carl Coulter, Orlando Steinauer, Gerald Vaughn, and Paul Desbaldeston, they were all ready to run through a wall. Ticats started the 99 season with a 39-9 beatdown of the Blue Bombers in Winnipeg, then lost to Montreal and Toronto before picking up victories against Edmonton and Saskatchewan. The Cats dropped to 3-4 after losing to the Alouettes again and against BC. Hamilton completed a season sweep of Edmonton and then popped the Argos 35-28 on Labor Day to move to 5-4 at the midway point of the season. The Cats would play very well in the second half and finish the year 11-7, which included a victory over Calgary in their final regular season contest. Come playoff time, the Cats were peaking at the right time and dispatched Toronto 27-6 in the East semifinal. A week later in Montreal, the Ticats rallied past the Alouettes 27-26 to set up a Grey Cup rematch against the defending champion Stampeders. On November 28, 1999, at BC Place Stadium, the Tiger Cats, who hadn't won a championship since 1986, would get their revenge. Danny Mack tossed 2 TDs to Flutie. Williams ran for a touchdown, and Ozzie booted 3 field goals and added 2 rouges as Hamilton beat the Stamps 32-21 for their 8th Grey Cup victory. McManus was the most outstanding player of the league and the Grey Cup MVP, while Tiggle was named the best defensive player. Hamilton had ended a 13-year-long championship drought, and they did it 2 years after suffering through their worst season ever. 1999 was a magical season. Unfortunately, as of this recording 25 years later, it is the last year in which the Ticats were crowned champions. In our final 3 episodes of seasons, an unprecedented year gives way to a new era for the Black and Gold and a dramatic change on home soil. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Seasons. A new one drops next Tuesday. Until next time, Oski Wee Wee.